Hey everyone, and welcome back to another discussion-y like video where today we're going to be talking about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity yet again. Now, I haven't actually finished this game yet. I'm about 18 hours in. I'm up to the Fort Hatino chapter. If you've played it, you'll know what I mean. And I'm not sure how much longer I have to go, but I don't think too much. Either way, I'm really taking my time to enjoy the game. I was thinking maybe I could rush through it and then get a video out expressing my complete thoughts on it early, but I've decided to put off that, and so instead you're getting this now, which is an unscripted, but I do have notes, don't worry. It's not completely just me rambling. I've got some notes talking about my thoughts on the story so far. Because that's what you want to hear about, right? I talk about story, that's what I know. And my thoughts on the story so far are that it is really good now. It's a really good story, but only from a certain perspective. Because I made that video ages, like a few months back, right? I made a video, as you guys will recall, talking about is Age of Calamity canon, right? It is Age of Calamity canon, and I decided, well, yeah, of course it's canon. From all the promotional material we've got to the developers saying that it's a prequel, and King Rome saying in one of the trailers, "I'll tell you what happened 100 years ago." It's a canon prequel to Breath of the Wild, and spoilers right now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please go away. Goodbye. It becomes apparent very quickly in Age of Calamity within the actual game itself that that's not the case, right? It's still, I think, canon, but it creates a different world because the egg guy, Terika, I think his name is, goes back in time from the events of Breath of the Wild, and because it does that and now changes the past, there is a separate timeline that Age of Calamity takes place on, right? A separate timeline. At first, I was really disappointed with this because I felt that I'd been cheated. I felt that I'd been promised to really get into detail with the cataclysmic events that happened in the past. Turns out that's not the case. Instead, we have this different story that's very different, of course, to Breath of the Wild, which at first, as I said, I was really disappointed with that. I felt cheated. That's not what I'd been promised. And in the first 10 hours or so, I felt disappointed in that. I felt really disappointed. And why? Why did I feel disappointed? Because it was pretty much just what I read about in the memories of Breath of the Wild, what I read about in the diary entries and what I'd seen in the memories, but it was different. It was an alternate universe or alternate reality. Still canon. I still think this is part of the Breath of the Wild multiverse, the Zelda universe, such as how Ocarina of Time splits off, and then we have Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, both canon Zelda games, but are in separate timelines. That's how I see Age of Calamity. It's still canon, just it's in a separate timeline. And I was really disappointed with that. Then I thought about it some more, and I realized that no, this is not that bad. It's not that bad, but it took a bit more of the game to get to that, because, as I said, at the beginning of the game, it's really just the events of Breath of the Wild that we know about from the memories and the diaries, but not a direct prequel. So I feel let down. I feel like, well, if you're going to make it so similar, just make it be a direct prequel and make it satisfying. But then, at about the 12-hour mark, something happened. The game split off, and I'm gonna spoil it now. Ganon attacks early, and stuff goes crazy. This ends with the king dying, Link and Zelda escaping, and then the new champions from Breath of the Wild come from the future to help out. And then the next following chapters are they're like Avengers Endgame levels of epic, with all the characters working together in these and you get to see events like the Siege on Akala Citadel, and you get to see so many events and epic battles, and the cutscenes that they have. The presentation is so on point, and it's really quite incredible. And at this point, I had to just say to myself, okay, this game is not the game that I was expecting. Okay, this is not the sad, depressing, tragic, direct prequel to Breath of the Wild that I was expecting and that I wanted. But if I embrace what this is, if I embrace this for what it is, I think I can enjoy it. And so I decided to say, I'm going to accept this game for what it is. I'm going to accept it as a completely separate story that's set within the Breath of the Wild universe, but is not directly connected to Breath. And once I did that, everything started to click into place. Everything, and I just started to really soak it up and enjoy it. I enjoyed the character interactions. I enjoyed the incredible presentation with the cutscenes, and the dialogue and the music is amazing. And I even appreciated the gameplay more, just because I was getting into the swing of things. And the game became really, I would say, for me, about like a 7 out of 10 to a 9. That much of a jump from a game that I thought was above average and pretty good, but I wasn't loving, to a game that was one of my favourite games, if not my favourite game to come out this year. That was what I needed. It just shows the power of expectations, doesn't it? But that's what happened for me. And I've heard that the game does end with them, they do win. So again, a completely different story, but I'm just really enjoying it. I'm loving the story. It's very in-depth compared to most Zelda games, and having the characters from the future meet up, and having older Sidon from Breath of the Wild, and Mipha be able to really communicate and talk together as brother and sister when he's not a little kid is really wholesome. There are just some great moments, and I know it's not directly canon to Breath of the Wild and it's a different timeline, but still there are things like we get to see Impa, we get to see more of the characters, and that's just more of the Breath of the Wild that we love. So even if you are still a bit annoyed, I would buy the game just for that. And there are battles like you get to fight, I believe, on the Great Plateau. You get to see so many areas from Breath of the Wild that we couldn't see before in the past, and they're completely built up, and it's just incredible. And even if you are annoyed like me that it's not a direct prequel, all those areas still looked like that 100 years ago in Breath of the Wild's timeline. So I think it's worth getting the game just to appreciate that, and appreciate Impa, and appreciate all the stuff that we could not see before, but still is like that in Breath of the Wild's timeline. So I hope this makes sense. And I know the marketing was not particularly great in that they didn't set us up for, they set us up for failure. That they with the marketing, they said, okay, the game's going to be this, and ended up, they said it was going to be A, ended up being B. B is fantastic, but the fact that we were expecting A means that it dampened the experience at first, until I was able to just accept the new game for what it is. So, what do you guys think of Age of Calamity's story so far? I hope you've enjoyed this little discussion video. I know it's not super formal or scripted up, but it was just something I wanted to get off my chest. It's just that Age of Calamity's story, it's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it wholeheartedly. I just needed to accept the game for what it is, and appreciate it for what it is. And once I did that, everything started clicking into place. I hope that can happen for you too, if that hasn't already. And if you're really annoyed that it's not what you wanted, that's completely fine. But I think that if you're a big Breath of the Wild fan, I think you can really enjoy this game, just because it does have those areas and characters in it that are what it was like 100 years ago that we never got to see. So anyway, I've been Jasper. This is Legends of Jasper. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content coming your way. If you like, especially if you like the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, then you should also subscribe, because I've got lots of new videos coming about that soon. I've of course got more Zelda content coming on the way, but you guys are all fantastic, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye.